Hello, welcome to another episode of Soul Sessions with Creative Mind. I'm Debra Maldonado.
I'm Dr. Rob.
And we have another great topic for you today, talking about mindset in this series, but particularly talking about AI and can AI replace a coach and take over the coaching industry? 'Cause many of our followers want to be coaches or are coaches, and the whole individuation process, will AI replace it? And should we be worried? So we have good news for you if you're a coach, so listen in.
So it's an interesting question because we see AI rapidly evolving and taking over a lot of previously human kind of niches, especially in self-help. And so we see that it has a lot of potential, and it's rapidly evolving, like I say, and going into different spaces. It can serve a lot of great functions because it's a great tool. It was developed based on language models, which means it understands the way we think through language in a very clear, concise way. And it can deliver a lot of information and synthesize information very rapidly, which would take us huge amounts of time to do.
Yeah, and especially with research, and if you're researching a topic, give me all the information you have on this topic and summarize it. It can do that. We use it for summarizing our podcast, right? What is the summary of this? We don't have someone sitting there listening to it and then coming up with a copy to write it. I mean, we use AI to help with the summaries. And so there's a lot of great tools out there for AI, but can it really basically replace a coach and what a coach can do? Yeah.
Well, I would say that it would depend on the type of coaching because it is a language model. It would be very good at analyzing thought patterns.
So like cognitive behavioral, CBT, people that are like thinking about their thoughts and their narratives and their belief systems. And, AI could easily coach them on what about thinking a positive feeling and what about this feeling and why do you feel that way? And, very, very basic coaching skills.
Yes. Well, I don't know about basic, but it can get very complex, but
the language base.
Yes, because it is a language model. Let's say CBT uses kind of the analysis of language to give feedback to the client that it could easily perhaps replace. I mean, because we know it's evolving. It could eventually get to a place where you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between let's say online, someone that is an actual human coach or an AI coach that's giving you feedback on your thoughts and ideas. And so I don't think it could replace the human element of connectedness and empathy and all that, but it could certainly mimic it.
Yeah, that's the thing about AI. It's that it can mimic human behavior. It could talk like a human. It could have humor like a human and mimic it, but it can never be human. And we had in our previous podcast, we had Gerard Leonard on, and he talked about, we asked him about AI, and he said that, it doesn't have a consciousness on its own. And so we as human beings have a soul, have consciousness that's very distinct from a computer and from a program. And so it is a different experience than AI.
Yeah. And then going deeper into a Jungian model, that would be very difficult for an AI to do, even to replicate it, let's say to simulate it.
Yeah.
It would not even be able to appear to know what it's talking about when talking about the unconscious in a coaching process.
It could, it could understand the concepts by reading Jung and on an intellectual level, but if it doesn't have the direct experience of individuation, because it doesn't have a psyche that has all the elements of individuation. So it doesn't have a shadow, it doesn't have a persona, it doesn't have an ego in the way that we have, and it doesn't have that soul, that limitless kind of being keeps us alive. And
it's very useful as a tool for both any kind of CBT model in coaching, and even a Jungian coaching model. The AI could really assist in the process. It can do dream interpretation. It can understand symbolism and give you feedback on what are these symbols pointing at. But that intuitive understanding of the subtle nature of the dynamic unconscious, that would be difficult to replicate.
Yeah, and also like that idea to resonate with the client, because a really important aspect of coaching is not knowing all the theory. Like Jung says, know all the theory, know all the techniques, but it's just one soul speaking to another soul. That resonance that a coach brings to the session, that wisdom that they've attained through intuitively connecting to their own journey, that they bring to that session. I can't imagine a computer be able to replicate that, because they didn't have that experience. They're incapable of having that human experience. I don't even know if they can have, it doesn't have an emotion, right? And most of what makes us human is our emotional life. And a lot of the individuation process, there's a lot of emotion that we have to work with. And if you don't know, I've never felt an emotion, how can you, really resonate and connect and empathize with the client?
Yeah.
You can rationally, logically try to understand through like a textbook kind of understanding, a logical understanding. Yeah. But the unconscious is very illogical. It's irrational. It's creative. It doesn't follow those typical language model lines, right?
Yeah. I can't see where it would be useful to develop AIs that serve underserved populations, right? It's for people that they don't have access to human coaches or human therapists. They might be able to access these AIs that act as coaches and therapists.
I think they even have some of that already.
I'm sure they do, but to a level that's really beneficial and really sophisticated. And in a few years, we'll be seeing those kind of levels. But yeah, again, going back to the unconscious, the understanding of the unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind is nonlinear, it's intuitive, it's emotional. The AIs would not be able to replicate a real Jungian understanding of the psyche.
It's very subtle. It's a subtle, and I think we all know we're human, so we don't know what it's like not to be human. But as those of us who've explored Jungian individuation and shadow work, you understand from a deeper level that you can't, it's ineffable. You can't really describe it in words, what you're experiencing. And so if AI doesn't have a language for it, but with coaching, what happens is that your unconscious is connected to the client's unconscious, and there's a different level of transmission, and connection and resonance that a computer can't do.